Good morning, all. Today's our topic is obstructed labor. So, what is obstructed labor? Basically, obstructed labor is where, in spite of good uterine contractions, the progressive descent of the presenting part is arrested due to mechanical obstruction. Some mechanical obstruction is present in the pelvis. That is the reason for the obstruction, basically. So, what are the incidence? Incidence is almost 2% in the hospital. So causes, we will see the causes. The first one is fault in passage. Fault in passage means fault in the pelvic cavity, pelvis. So bony. The first one is bony, cephalopelvic disproportion, contracted pelvis. These are the common causes. Secondly, contracted pelvis may be present in multiparous females. Again, soft tissue obstructions might be present, like broad ligament fibroid may be there impacted, ovarian tumor might be there, prolapse, or any previous surgery or previous operative scar may be present. Cervical fibroid may be present. So this may lead to obstruction in the passage. Next one is fault in the passenger means fetus. Anywhere fault related to fetus is a fault in passenger. So first one is transverse line, proper abnormal presentation like bro presentation, congenital malformation of fetus like hydrocephalus, which is commonest one. Fetal ascites, monsters. Again, big baby, occipito-posterior position, and compound presentation, locked twins might cause fault in the passenger. The next one is morbid anatomical changes. Morbid anatomical changes in uterus. The morbid anatomical changes in response to obstruction. There will be pathological retraction ring. What is a pathological retraction ring? Here in diagram you can see already we are discussed normal labor. So there is physiological ring, retraction ring is present during normal labor. So here in the diagram you can see a non-pregnant uterus, a pregnant uterus at term, how it looks. Then uterus in labor in the first stage, again in early stage. This is in second stage of the labor we can see. So this is what the upper uterine segment we can see, and this is the lower uterine segment, right? So there is this ring is between upper uterine segment and lower uterine segment. There is physiological retraction ring we can see here, no? So in this is in second stage of labor. But in abnormal uterine contraction, whenever there is pathological retraction ring, this ring is formed in between the midway of the body of the uterus. The ring will be present. So this lower uterine segment that will be unduly stretched, and the upper uterine segment will be the active segment will be smaller one, and the passive segment will be a larger one. So this is the pathological retraction ring, and this will cause stress to the fetus inside. It will cause stress to the fetus inside. So fetal stress will be there, and there are chances for fetal mortality, or there will be problem in the progress of the labor. So labor will be obstructed also, and labor will be prolonged also. So presence of pathological retraction ring. Again, bladder. The next point is bladder. So bladder may be undergo undue pressure, like whenever the labor is obstructed, the head is get obstructed, or any part of the fetus get obstructed in the at the internal os, and it is not coming out of the os. Then what it will cause? It will cause pressure on the posterior wall of the bladder, and then it may undergo pressure symptoms like pressure necrosis might be there. There might be infection because of the presence of urine and slogging of that part, and development of genitourinary fistula. So commonest complication for obstructed labor is genitourinary fistula. Next one is clinical features. What are the clinical features the patient may present with? The first one is patient will be in utmost agony with continuous pain and discomfort. Patient becomes so much restless. If at all treated or not treated on proper time, then the features of exhaustion would be there and ketoacidosis will be present. On examination, abdominal palpation will reveal upper segment will be hard and tender, and lower segment will be distended and tender on for vaginal examination. Effect on mother. Immediate effect. Immediate effect, exhaustion is due to constant agonizing pain and anxiety. Dehydration is due to increased muscular activity without adequate fluid intake. Metabolic acidosis is due to accumulation of lactic acid and ketones. Genital sepsis after rupture of membrane with repeated pervaginal examination and attempted manipulations. Injury to genital tract includes a uterine rupture, which may be spontaneous in multipara, and traumatic following instrumental deliveries. Postpartum hemorrhage and shock is also common. Sepsis might be there, and patient may land up in puerperal sepsis. Again, remote chances are genitourinary fistula, as we have already seen. Same like rectovaginal fistula might be the one of the consequence. Variable degree of vaginal atresia. Secondary amenorrhea following hysterectomy due to rupture of uterus or Sheehan's syndrome. Sheehan syndrome because of excessive hemorrhage. Effects on the fetus. Effects on the fetus. The first one is asphyxia. Asphyxia results from tonic uterine contractions. Or tonicity of uterus is important. So there might be fetal asphyxia. Again, acidosis is due to fetal hypoxia and maternal acidosis. Intracranial hemorrhage is due to supermolding of the head leading to tear of the tentorium or traumatic delivery. Infection might be present, and there may be much more increased perinatal loss because of the obstructed labor. Prevention is first and foremost is antenatal detection of the factors which may lead to prolonged labor. So proper ANC is important everywhere. Proper ANC is very important. So here also antenatal detection of the factors that may lead to prolonged labor and obstructed labor must be detected, like big baby, small height of the woman, malpresentation, malposition. This might be looked for. Intranetal continuous vigilance, use of the partogram for diagnosis of normal labor or prolonged labor, obstructed labor, timely intervention if the labor is prolonged so that maternal mortality, neonatal mortality, fetal mortality can be prevented. In actual management, there is importance of fluid balance. Electrolyte balance has to be maintained, and correction of dehydration and ketoacidosis should be there. Ringer's lactate solution should be administered, and vaginal swab is taken for the culture and sensitivity. Blood sample is taken for the crossing, and availability of blood should be there if it operative interference is there. Antibiotic therapy should be administered. Commonest is ceftriaxone sodium, which is given 1 gram intravenous injection. Again, metronidazole is a very important drug. Metronidazole during such obstructed labor. Again, cesarean section is indicated whenever the labor is obstructed and not getting progress and fetus life is at jeopardized, then the cesarean is indicated. Vaginal delivery is indicated whenever the fetal death is there, unless until any abnormality is there to the fetus, then vaginal delivery is done whenever the obstruction is there. Then dystocia, we will come to the dystocia. So dystocia means somewhere what do you mean by dystocia? So somewhere the size of the fetus will be moved, macrosomia. So generalized fetal enlargement will be there. So large size baby weighing more than 4 kg. This is macrosomia. The causes are hereditary. It might be hereditary. Gestational diabetes, uncontrolled maternal diabetes, post maturity, multiparity. Again, male fetus might be there, obese mother might be there, which may lead to the weight of the fetus will be moved. Again, shoulder dystocia. Next one is shoulder dystocia. The anterior and posterior fetal shoulder impacts on the maternal symphysis or sacral promontory, respectively. So this may lead to obstructed labor. What are the risk factors for this shoulder dystocia? Is previous shoulder dystocia, macrosomia, obesity, diabetes, induced labor, prolonged first stage of labor, secondary arrest of labor, post maturity, multiparity, anencephaly, instrumental delivery at improper time, application of instrument, fetal ascites. This might lead to shoulder dystocia. As we are already, many of the causes we already studied. Complications, fetal complications, asphyxia, brachial plexus injury, palsy, clumps, palsy might be there, humerus fracture, clavicle fracture might be there. Maternal complications, cervical laceration, vaginal tear, perineal tear, rupture of the uterus, rupture of bladder, sacroiliac joint dislocation, and permanent morbidity might be there. Prevention of shoulder dystocia generally not possible, even with antenatal assessment of this ultrasonographic assessment, but we have to look for the risk factors basically. So diagnosis of shoulder dystocia by recoiling of head and back against the pubarium. This is called as turtleneck sign. Turtleneck sign. Recoiling of head back against the perineum. Inadequate and spontaneous restitution. Fetal face becomes plethoric and the failure of shoulder to descend. Failure of shoulders to descend is the main sign for the diagnosis. In what we can do in the management is macroberts maneuver. In macroberts maneuver, abduct the maternal thighs, sharply hyperflex them onto abdomen, so there will be rotation of symphysis pubis upwards and decrease in the angle of pelvic inclination, and this will strengthen the lumbosacral angle and rotate the maternal pelvis upwards. It rotates maternal pelvis upwards and increases anterior and posterior diameter of the pelvis. Anterior, posterior diameter of the pelvis, it will increase, and so that it is generally successful in so many cases. The suprapubic pressure must be applied in this position. This procedure is possibly done first. It has to be done first, and then if at all it is not working, then other manual should be applied. The next one is Woods maneuver. So in Woods maneuver, general anesthesia is given and posterior shoulder of the fetus is rotated to anterior position in corkscrew. Corkscrew type movement should be there. It should be rotated at what 80 degree. This is done by inserting two fingers in the posterior side of the vagina. Simultaneous suprapubic pressure should be applied, and this pushes this biacromial diameter from anterior posterior diameter to oblique diameter, so that it can come out, shoulder can come out of the pelvis. Again, next one is extraction of posterior arm. So posterior arm, some traction is given to the posterior arm, so that the operator's hand has to be introduced into the vagina along with the posterior humerus, and the arm is swept across the chest, and therefore delivery with gentle traction. Traction to the arm is given. Again, all four position means the position of the female, of the mother, should be the female in the labor should be changed. In all four positions should be changed, so that the downward traction to the posterior shoulder may help in freeing the impacted shoulder, or this may relieve her obstructed labor. Next one is hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus means excessive accumulation of CSF, that is zero point 0.5 to 1.5 liter in the ventricles, with consequent thinning of the brain tissue and enlargement of the cranium. So basically, hydrocephalus is excessive accumulation of CSF in ventricles, with consequent thinning of the brain tissue and enlargement of cranium. So diagnosis, antenatally minor degree may escape, but severe degree present with following features. Severe degree of hydrocephalus, generally head is felt larger during examination. Globular and softer part of the head is generally felt. The head is high up, and it is very impossible to get engaged. Fetal heart is generally situated high above the umbilicus. During sonography, cranial shadow is globular rather than ovoid. Fontanelles are wide open. Walls or bone are thinner. Lateral and third ventricle seem to be dilated. and marked thinning of cerebral cortex is seen. There is often dilatation is due to stenosis of aqueduct of Sylvius, agenesis of corpus callosum, or whenever the torch infection is present. So generally, prognosis is not favorable. Uh, Generally, in cases undiagnosed cases, left uncared and obstructed labor generally consequence happens. If at all diagnosis is made earlier, then the presentation might be abnormal. So prolonged labor and obstructed labor is the complication. So if at all no problem should be there in the delivery, so cesarean might be indicated. Or whenever the labor is obstructed, then craniotomy is done, and cephalocentesis is done, decompression of lead is done through abdominal route or through vaginal route if possible, and the delivery is done. Thank you. If at all you are having any query, then mention on the comment box. Thank you. Thank you very much.